Hi, this is Cloris. How are you doing? Today, I'm gonna share with you how living in Germany reshaped my personality and mentality, how it changed my life. However, this video is not about any culture shocks that I encounter. It's about how I evolved myself, how I uneducate and re-educate myself to be the person that I want to be. If you come from an Asian country or Africa or Latin American countries, I just want to share this. I think it's really important to me as a life lesson, which is more important than any German skills I have learned. Let's start with my Asian background. I grew up in Hong Kong, which is a really big city, and I would say there are some toxic cultures that I didn't like, but maybe it's not toxic to other people, so this is really personal and subjective. Like being people-pleasing, consider other people first, be obedient as a kid, and in my generation, I think we didn't care enough about mental health. And for me, I'm a highly sensitive person emotionally. That's why I think living in Germany and moving to Germany is the right decision for me. There was an interesting encounter 2 years ago when I was doing my research for my thesis. When I was doing research on Kafka's work, Franz Kafka is a writer who grew up in Czech Republic. He writes in German. And I watched this video about Kafka's biography. It's about his tough relationship with his father. And Kafka described him as harsh in words and physical abuse. And his father's constant criticism and high expectation deeply affected Kafka's self-esteem and influenced his writing. The most interesting thing is, when I looked at the comments below the video, this is not the exact wording, but someone comments like, if Kafka was born in Asia, he would have got used to it. And why this comment is so interesting is because someone pointed out that child abuse is actually not uncommon in Asia. Although when I talk to other people in different culture, it seems like it's also in Africa and Latin America. But when I tell you that I grew up in an abusive household, both emotionally and physically, my intention is not to blame my parents. In Chinese society, being obedient is good. That means be 乖. 乖 means in Chinese being obedient to your parents, following what they say, and be a good kid, never talk back to your parents, and be a good student in school, getting good results. Quite a high standard for good results, because if you get like 90 marks out of 100, your parents can still say, why don't you get 100? And we've been always told that we are not good enough in this society, which is quite toxic. And when I talked back to my parents or when I said my opinion, I was always punished physically. And emotionally, they always told me I'm a bad kid. They also constantly told me that I'm not pretty, that I'm thin, I don't look good, and look at other chubby kids, they look so pretty and so cute, and I'm not cute and I'm not pretty. That also caused a lot of problem when I became an adult. And I also suffered in my personal relationship, especially with my ex-boyfriends. At this point, you might ask, why I didn't report to the teacher or social workers, right? The answer is really simple, because when I was a kid, I just internalized everything. I didn't have this critical thinking. What they did was wrong. Parents are always right, and parents are like the perfect model that we should follow, we should appreciate, we should admire. That I always internalize and put the blame on myself. I didn't talk to people about it because I took it as a shame on me, even though I was beaten and I have those wounds on my thighs and maybe my arms. But my school uniform was just good enough to cover those wounds after I got beaten up. Oh my god, I thought it's easy to share because it's already in the past, but I still got emotional when I'm sharing this in front of the camera, even though it's just myself filming here. But again, I'm telling you, this is not a form to blame my parents. I forgave them, and I know they tried their best to raise us and gave us what they have, and they wanted the best for us, but it's just in the wrong way due to their limited knowledge. Also for myself, as a highly sensitive kid, and these wounds caused me bigger impacts than my siblings. When I look at my parents, I also see the generational trauma in them that make them do this to us. I should stop it now from my generation so that I don't pass these toxic traits to my next generation. And after all, I think this process wouldn't be possible if I didn't remove myself from the Asian society by coming to Germany. I also learned something about spirituality during COVID and put into practice in my daily life. So I journal and I meditate meditate, I do inner work and shadow work. So I think all these help me to discover those inner wounds that I've overlooked. And there's also a saying why Germany has so many famous philosophers is because Germany's been so depressing. They were so lonely here in Germany. They got just a lot of time and space to think about life and what we are doing, what is our life purpose. I think my throat chakra has been blocked for a really long time, that I couldn't say my real opinion. I couldn't voice out when I was suffering. Even though I was put in a bad situation, I would still consider others' feelings first. There was one situation when I went out with a guy and he tried to kiss me. At that moment, I didn't feel like kissing him back. In my mind, I would think, would that embarrass him? I wouldn't say I would be in danger because that guy is my friend's friend. I just betrayed myself and I let him kiss me and I didn't push him away. And afterwards, I felt so bad about myself. But at that moment, my mind was so blank. I couldn't think about anything. And I went home, I ended up crying because this is not his fault, it's my fault. And I didn't protect myself and I betrayed myself. That's why I started to blame myself for not protecting myself, not pushing him away. Because I know he's not a bad person and his intention was not to hurt me. That's why I haven't been dating for a long time, because I need to figure out how to protect myself before I get into dating, before I get into a relationship. Otherwise, it's gonna be either a toxic relationship or an abusive relationship. So I think not having a real relationship in the past years also a kind of protection from the universe, so that I can take the time to process myself. Because in a lot of situations, if I don't take a pause to think, to do reflection, all the reactions are just like a reflex action that is not controlled by myself, it's not controlled by my mind, it's not something I did consciously. It's more like subconscious that is implemented in my brain. I always did something that betrayed myself. And therefore, I think Germany is really good to me because as a highly sensitive person, I take this place as my shelter, that I can feel safe to be myself and that I can process my childhood and process my unhealed wounds and focusing on building a life that I want by giving me a secure life first. And I start to pay attention to my thoughts and analyze them, whether they are from my parents or they are from the culture of the toxic society, or is it really my thoughts? Also, as a foreigner, as an immigrant in Germany, if I don't protect myself, no one is gonna protect me. Of course, there's a law, there's police, there's lawyer, but back to the base point, I should learn how to protect myself. For those who haven't experienced child abuse, they wouldn't understand how hard it is to fight back, how hard it is to voice back. When someone is belittling you or someone is gaslighting you, because you don't have the consciousness and we always put others first. And then we would start to doubt ourselves. So what do I do in Germany? It's through a lot of trials and errors that I try to push myself little by little to learn how to protect myself. It's quite a lot of work. But my advice, please don't blame yourself when you're still doing this reflex action to some bad situation that you feel like you're being unfair to yourself. In fact, that happened to me quite a lot in the past already, even though today it still happens. But I tell myself I'm doing it better and better every day. I think I'm setting better boundary with friends and also setting boundary with my boss, also my family, my mom, and I think gradually I'm getting there and start to establish healthy boundaries between me and other people, because I really feel sick about doing the same thing again and again, and it's not getting me to anywhere I want. Step by step, we can take some small steps in some safe and small situation. For example, in my old apartment, it's really small that I didn't want to take parcels for my neighbors, but when the postman came and my neighbors was not at home, he would ask me if I was willing to take care of the parcel for my neighbor, but I would say no. And this is in a safe situation and a small situation that you don't hurt other people, and where I also practiced how to say no to people and rejecting people, stop people pleasing, because this is causing inconvenience to me. So in that situation, I put myself first. and they would also figure out their own way to deal with the parcel. And the second thing would be to reject or to decline some invitations to certain event that I didn't want to go. So for example, there is an winter event organized by my company and I don't want to go, then I would just say no and decline it from the very beginning when they said like save the date. Yeah, also maybe the Christmas dinner that I didn't want to attend, and I would also decline it. I started from these small things to reassure myself it's okay to reject people, it's okay to put my preference first, it's safe to do it. I have to constantly reassure my inner child rejecting people can be safe in a lot of situations. Gradually, I've built up this confidence and feel safe to say no to people. And then the other suggestion would be to take a break from someone who is draining your energy. That also includes my friends, my mom. Now I don't live at home, so I have a choice who I want to be in contact with. If I don't feel like contacting certain friends, then I would say, let's take a pause. Yeah, sometimes when I don't reply them, they would just leave me alone, or I tell them that I need a break, I need some time on my own, then they would leave me alone. After I've processed things, then I would come back to them and tell them how I felt. Yeah, but for some friendship, it's hard. I would just take my time to process it. And for my mom, there was a certain period that I just didn't interact with her as much as I used to. I think she also felt something. And then I started to take the courage and tell her what happened, because in our previous conversation, she constantly told me, you're already in your 30s and you got nothing. That hurts me. And I told her honestly about my feelings and told her she should stop this, and what she could do is maybe talk about some other topics. I mean, it's hard to tell parents to look at the good things that I have done. And this is really not Asian thing, but I started to appreciate like she said this out of worry, out of insecurity. She wanted the best for us, but it's just the wrong expression, wrong phrase that she didn't realize how hurtful it could be. Yeah, but that's how she is. But how I dealt with it, and I have an option how I reacted to this. When I took my time to think about it, I knew how to deal with it. And I think when I talked about it like peacefully and honestly, I think it's good for both parties. She also learned from this, but of course I wouldn't say like all the parents are open and willing to learn, because there is always a hierarchy in Asian culture that parents are always above us. It's hard, it's really hard. But what I've learned is to put myself first and to take care of my emotion first. So if I felt really bad, I would really stop seeing them and interacting with them, give myself some time to process things, and then I can come back with a solution. So in my situation, I think I also developed certain compassion towards my mom, so that I try to look at her perspective more. I know this is not about her not loving me, and it's not about like me being less. It's just about communication and how she unconsciously said something she didn't meant. And besides that, I also do a lot of self-affirmation. I gave myself validation so that I don't constantly seek for external validation. That takes really a long time to do this step by step every day, showing up for myself and taking care of myself emotionally and physically. Throughout the whole process, I also learned how to tell people how I feel in a respectable way, because no one has ever taught me how to tell my opinion, not just in a personal situation, but also work situation. I think I just learned a lot by reading and by watching some YouTube videos. These are really helpful resources to enable myself to express my opinion and to share my thoughts. Also, when my parents are not showing up as how I want them to be, I would just tell myself, what would I do if I were the parents for myself and I became my inner parents so that I can comfort my inner child. And these wounds don't define my present and future. What I learned from these past events that made me the person I am today. For example, I'm pretty good at reading people and reading the room, and I can apply that intuition to my job, because when I meet a client, I know what they want before they even say it, or I can ask questions more leading to right direction that fits the client's need, and those skills do help me to do my job. Besides that, as a highly sensitive person, I can also use my emotions and creativity to create some artwork and create the videos like here today. And hopefully this can also inspire people and help people. Throughout this process, we are more close to self-actualization in the Maslow pyramid. So we don't just fulfill our physical need, but we also going up to do this self-actualization, learning more about ourselves, knowing what works the best for ourselves. I think this is also kind of fulfilling our life purpose. In the past, I always see being sensitive as negative and being emotional as negative, but these days I start to appreciate myself a lot more, because I think it's a really fair game. When I have a lot of emotions and sensitivity, then I can use them for creation. That would also technically switch on my right brain when we are creating something. That also suppress our anxiety on our left brain, which is like a more logical brain. It's always a coin with two sides. For example, when I can read the room, I would be getting too much information, which exhausts myself at the end. So I cannot join a lot of social activities, and also make sure who I surrounded myself with are the people that is uplifting me, who are not draining my energy or giving out bad energy, negative energy, because I tend to absorb them very easily. I have to be very attentive and to block out those bad energy. If you've been to Germany for quite a long time, then you probably would know it's quite hard to make friends in Germany. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's like more difficult than other countries. And I remember someone even say, if you want to make friends in Germany, then you have to go back to kindergarten, because all the German people met their friends from kindergarten, from schools and universities. If we don't have that kind of experience, it's quite hard for us to make friends in social activities. If we are working, we can always join some Verein and like sports club or something. So recently I also joined the golf club. It's important to develop some hobbies that I like and I can do regularly, at the same time to meet some people maybe more regularly, that we can try to build a friendship. I think in the past I also had some not so compatible friendship. Is because I didn't meet a lot of people and the pool is really small, so I grab everyone, but not everyone is compatible with me. But when I'm more secure in myself and join a bit more social activities, then I have a little bit more options to choose who I can be friends with. And now I think I'm more secure myself, because I'm always backing myself up and I would never abandon myself. So I would be more picky about friends these days and just let go of some friends, either if I've outgrown them or they've outgrown me. So we are not compatible anymore at this stage, but maybe in the future we will become compatible again, we become friends again. But at this moment, I would always make the best decision for myself. So this is how I've changed after I moved to Germany, and hopefully this could give you a bit of insight and inspiration. See you soon. Bye.